and the, and the regional council. And I think people, that's why I'm envisioning a larger formation team, because one person can't do all that. So we really need a formation team that's going to embrace these different aspects of formation, so that our understanding of formation is expanded beyond, just the initial, what I'll say, candidacy leading to profession, and then the ongoing formation nourishing of our own personal vocation. We need to also nourish our leadership and our ministers in doing that. Which brings me to another question. I know it's true in our region. We started out in Blessed Maximilian Kolbe region with 24 fraternities. We're down to 19, and probably of a span of 8 or 9 years. We have more fraternities deactivating because they're older and people can't get together, and we're down to 7 numbers, just what we were talking about before. People can't, and we're asking the question, well, how do we attract younger members? And so I know this is going to be a difficult question, but I want to ask this of you. I'd like to at least begin the conversation of this. I don't have an answer, but I have a question. And I'd like us to begin to consider the question and have this a point of conversation, so that we can come up with some really good response to it, and a response that is really fueled by the Holy Spirit. And that is, we have fraternities that are professing individuals, that are 70, 80, 85 years old. And we're saying this is a lifetime commitment, a lifetime vocation. And when we do that, then we don't really have young leadership that's going to continue that fraternity, and in a few years, that fraternity is going to deactivate. I think that was one of the reasons I called Mary Ann Lindsay, who is the National Formation Director now. And I had a conversation with her. I said, what are your thoughts about this? Is the Formation Commission doing anything about this area? And what would you suggest? And I did. So I want to show you this. I did pull off the web, and I did print it out. It's in here, the SFO Affiliate Orientation Plan. And I'll leave it so you can look at it. But this plan was designed for people who are really love Francis and Franciscan spirituality, but probably don't have a vocation. And so I'm wondering if the individuals that we have that are coming to us later in life, that maybe that have, some really specific needs, a need for community, a need to belong, whether or not we ought to be doing something with the orientation plan and welcoming them to our communities and saying, yes, we'll teach you about Francis. We'd love for you to join us at our gatherings, and we'll go through a discernment process. But perhaps this is the answer, so that people can feel that they belong to us. But the question is it a vocation if it's that late? Now, I know that's a difficult thing to say, and I don't question at all people's love for Francis, or even the work of the Holy Spirit, because the work of the Holy Spirit calls when the Holy Spirit calls. But when I was at National, I had the privilege of being National Vice President in 1980, 81, and I was named or asked to take the responsibility of the first National Formation Commission. And so we formed a commission. We had 3 friars and 3 lay people, 3 secular Franciscans, and we were, the product that we produced were the guidelines for initial formation, which I'm hoping will be used again in formation, because that again is process. That's a really important process that's contained in there. But, and I just lost my train of thought with that. I think that what I'm saying is, in formation then, looking at these individuals, why are we not getting younger vocations? Well, I think the common apostolate and the things that we're talking about now, and being where the millennials are, or being where young people are, who see that our charism is to be a presence in the world. But if we're not in that place there, and they don't know that we're Franciscans there, then we're missing something here. And I use this question a lot now. And I use this for our fraternities. You know, in our Franciscan communities, and I would include the First Order in this, although they have an easier time of it in one sense than I think we do. But if in our secular fraternities, if we closed shop tomorrow and we weren't there, would the community miss us?
In some cases, yes, they would, because several of our fraternities have very active apostolates in their parishes, and they are known. And if we were to go away, who would do those? I mean, they do Bible study, they do all kinds of things.
But that's exactly what I'm saying.
And
They're known.
What we tell them of those struggling fraternities that don't have vocations when we do visitations, you need to be more visible.
Exactly.
Where you are, so that people know that you're Franciscan.
Right.
And, you know, wear your towels, do an active apostolate where you're going to be visible.
Right.
And people will come.
Right.
So that's what we tell them.
And that's, I think you're right on target there, Pat, because I think that's what's needed. If you have a presence in the community, in whatever capacity it is, and I'm not just saying in the church now, I'm not just saying in the parish, but in the community as well, then there's a vital Franciscan presence there. And that's what we're called to be. And I think we need to keep bringing that over and over to the forefront.
That's our vision.
Yes, and that's why I'm asking for people to share that, but I don't think all regions or all fraternities have that, you know. And I think that we need to begin to look at these questions and consider these questions. Kathy?
I do have a question. I hope I'm trying to understand what you just said with the booklet. You said you copied. I'm under the impression that your comment meant that those were, say that they were 80 years old, and you wonder if that's a vocation for them to come into the Franciscan order. What if they had a desire for that all their years, but they didn't know it was there, and they have still so much to offer until they take their last breath? Because as you said, their presence, no matter what they are that presence of a Franciscan. Whether it's giving a speech, a talk, they're still very important to the community of the Franciscan order, even if they're just joining.
Well, that's a discernment process. And again, the vocation, the discernment to vocation is that whole discernment process through the formation process. But the question that's being asked nationally and across the country, I know now what I started to say is, when I was at National in the 80s, we were at 38,000 secular Franciscans in the U.S. Now we're at 13,000. So what caused the gap? Do you know, it's a difficult question. But I think we need to ask the question. And I don't have an answer. I'm not suggesting that I have an answer. But I think we need to begin the conversation as to how are we, or what is God calling us to be, and are we being responsive to that?
Also, whenever you said it, you don't know what would cause that decline, enormous decline actually. But there's enormous decline in members of the Catholic Church altogether, and of religious joining and having that discernment. Less families, the breakdown of the family unit. So as a Franciscan, we build the family, and our family is the Franciscans, but we actually build our own family. And as you said, go out into the world and build that family.
Right. So it's a complicated, there are many factors. There are many factors.
Right.
But I guess
start somewhere.
Yeah, and then I guess what I'm saying is I'm picking up on what Pat, or what the region, Our Lady of Poverty region, their regional council did, is they began to look at the bigger picture.
Okay.
And sometimes it's easier to continue this path because we've always done it this way, and we don't broaden our perspective to say, well, really, what are the societal issues? What is happening? And you're right, only 40% of those who call themselves Catholic go to church.
Right.
You know, so yes, and there's a decline in religious vocations as well. But we still have to ask the question. We can't just continue to plod along and do the same thing. We may have to look at what we're doing and how we're doing what we're doing, and at least begin to have that conversation, as difficult as it might be.
Right.
That's all I'm saying, yes.
When I go to Florida in the wintertime, and I belong to San Damiano fraternity over there, which is Five Martyrs region. And they have people, and we're all old, and they come in, they're constantly coming in to be professed. And a lot of them, what they're saying is they want to be professed before they die. That's an important factor for them. And they just keep coming because, well, the area that we're living in is mostly old people anyway, older people. But there's constantly people coming into that fraternity who want to be professed.
Kip, you got a question, comment?
And you know, that's good as well. It's not either or, but you know, both and, I think. But for younger vocations, we have a fraternity in Washington, D.C., a Latino fraternity, and they're huge. They're huge. When I was doing the regional spiritual assistant, I went for a visitation. They had 50 people in initial formation. One of the things that they do is they invite the whole family. And so that they have, while the fraternity members are having their meeting, the children are having their meeting. And so it also feeds, they also have a very active youth fraternity, you know, so in a sense it kind of feeds, you know, the future of the fraternity. But if we were more open, I think, to inviting the whole family, as there's a lot of potential there.
Well, and I think what the question that you're raising and the question that I'm raising is, do we need to look at our structures? Do we need to look at what we're doing and how we're doing it? And, you know, what do we do? I mean, I think the conversation is worth having. Maybe nothing will change.
Sure.
But if we don't have the conversation, you know, we can't address some of the national issues that we're seeing and regional issues that we're seeing. Marianne said to me is that other than the manual being available, there really isn't a process. It's a 12-month program and there's 12 topics in there, but there really hasn't been much discussion about when it's used or how it's used. And I know in my own fraternity, we're having a discussion right now. There are a number of individuals that are in formation, but there's two that the council has been discerning may not have a vocation, but they may continue on with this. So why I think it's an important question to ask is, I think we don't want to say you don't have a vocation, therefore you can't be part of us. And I think that's what the affiliate program is trying to offer, is you might not have the vocation to be here, but we certainly welcome you and will certainly help you to understand who we are and how things are done, you know, and that may continue to be developed, you know, in some ways. Patrick.
Our region has started a discussion regarding the affiliate program because we have a regional manual, council members manual that we've just issued, and we chose to pull out the proposed section on affiliates because it requires a much broader discussion. Our constitutions are very broad when discussing the affiliate program, and our statutes are even more broad. They don't even mention, they just say whatever it says in the constitutions. We have, I think, 3 or 4 affiliates in our region, and we have 800 professed. And you know, one of them is not Catholic, and that's why he's an affiliate. One of them is a diocesan priest who doesn't have time to go through formation, and they chose to let him be an affiliate. It's a very broad, complex issue right now. And before our region wanted to start putting structure and restrictions and requirements on the affiliate program, we decided it really needed a much broader discussion. But you're also bringing up an issue that goes beyond formation, and that's recruitment. And you know, the struggle at the national level and the regional levels has been, how do you recruit the next generation of members? Now, do we define the next generation of members as people in their 50s or people in their 30s? And how you reach out to those people, how you are a presence to those people, is going to make some fraternities very uncomfortable. You want young people, if you're a parish-based fraternity and you want to have more young members, you better offer childcare. you better offer childcare, and you better schedule the meeting when the kids aren't doing other things.
Which will be difficult.
Saturday mornings, you're gonna lose them for soccer,
Right.
or baseball, or some other, so our fraternity's willing to change that much to attract the next generation. I certainly don't want us to form fraternities based only on young people,
Right.
but it is a very difficult problem that we're facing.
You made two good things, and I want to commend you for having the vision to do that. And I would agree with you, a much broader interpretation of the affiliate program, I think, that would be my way, that it would be much better. We don't want it to be narrow and constricted. We really want it to be a welcoming, process. But I think the other thing that you're saying with everyone, the timing of when you meet, all of those factors, are considerations. Like for me, just in my own fraternity, I'm an active excused member. Why? Because I go to the meetings when I can. But I have regional council meetings on Saturday. I work 5 days a week. I have regional council meetings on Saturdays. Most of the times they're all day long. And I give retreats on other weekends. So I go to my fraternity as often as I can. But if you scheduled it on a different day, I'd be more available than I am on, I'm not as available on Saturday morning as I would be on a different time. Does that mean I don't love my fraternity or I don't want to be an active part of it? I love my fraternity. I'd love to be an active part of it. But my other responsibilities as a Franciscan and in my professional life, means that I can't be there on every Saturday morning that we meet. So, and I think the other thing that you said that I think is really important is I personally would agree with you in the sense that I don't think we want homogeneous fraternities. I think we want very heterogeneous fraternities. Because again, there's wisdom at all those levels. And there is fruit and there's wisdom that every age group or every person can bring to that. I personally would think that a heterogeneous group, of ages would be a more vital, fraternity than just trying to say we only want the young people here. And that's where I think the idea of the cell comes in. If people are interested in particular things, then you could have a cell for social justice, or you could have a cell for reaching out to some of the other things. Those personal interests, you could have some, you could develop that in a cell format. Do you have a question or comment?
I just wanted to say it's 11:15. Are you ready for this handout?
Yeah, okay, you can pass that out, yeah. The handout I'm giving you is really, as I said, it's an how-to to get to the NAFRA website. And this binder, so these numbers on the outline can correspond to these. So that's the outline. So here's the national web page for those of you who may not be familiar, and I've marked where I have it. And then I've marked the pages here on the National Formation Commission where you can find these other materials. And then here's just a page of the affiliate program, but the green binder has that. And then there's a whole page of meetings and resources. And again, like for instance, and Petch talked about the international, the General Council. But the National Council, the NAFRA meeting puts their minutes here. Has your regional council and has your local fraternity council read the results, the meeting results from the 2017 NAFRA Council? Have you read it? Have you discussed it? Do you know what the priorities are of national? Because if you don't know what the priorities of national, again, are, how can you implement that at the local level? Or how can you begin, again, to have a conversation about it? Not that you're going to do everything that's here, but I think you need to be aware of what's happening at the national level. I know your regional fraternity ministers and your regional council probably have means of getting some of that information back to you, but your individual members need to know that they can read this material, that it's accessible for them to have. So I highlighted those there as well. And then I put in here one page of the SFO resource manual. I mean, this is all the resources in the fund manuals here. So you can get that. I put this in here. This is on the website. You'd have to actually have a computer to utilize this. But there are two wonderful videos by Father Trezza on the importance of profession. Well, you could use that in your fraternity. You could use it either at the local fraternity, you could use it in formation, because again,